So try to understand in a profound way. Spiritual scriptures have to be applied in your life. They are not history lessons. If you keep them as history lessons, then it is a laughable situation. It brings the hysteria. I will not go into further life, getting involved with this story. And as and when needed, I will give you some mystical meaning. Om Nilambujasyamalkomalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panau Maha Sayaka Charu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, is very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side, carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. These adorations to God, and all these subtle meanings have been given to you before. So we are getting into Balakanda, moving towards verse number 209. Sage Vishvamitra is now assisted by Rama and Lakshmana. As you recall, Sage Vishvamitra has been performing a special yajna. And whenever he performed that yajna, demoniac forces caused a lot of disturbance. And Vishvamitra came to know by his intuition that God has incarnated in the form of Rama and his brothers. This is a storyline. Behind this story, there is a profound, subtle meaning. Project of Vishvamitra is a project of all saints and sages. This is the voice of all religions of the world. To view the entire world with a friendly vision, not unfriendly. That's Vishvamitra's yajna. Everyone is involved in that yajna, anyone who is sensitive. But it's a highly allegorical story. Whenever that yajna starts, when you begin to move towards creating within your heart that mystic tenderness for all, in the beginning it sounds good. So you start the program. In order to do that, you allow your negative qualities to be sublimated. Allegorically, you allow anger to turn into love. All gross impurities poured into the fire of higher understanding. But whenever Vishvamitra started that, the demons came whirling in the sky and started dropping skeletons, bones, blood, filthy substance. Storyline seems quite amazing history. But practical day-to-day life, you start your meditation with the idea, I'm going to commune with Brahman. The moment you do, from vasana level, mirch comes in, Marica. Some fascinating desires come as Subahu, Marica and Subahu. And your fire that was pure was not pure. Dump in certain impurities, malas. And that stops you from having the Vishvamitra vision. So try to understand in a profound way. Spiritual scriptures have to be applied in your life. They are not history lessons. If you keep them as history lessons, then it is a laughable situation. It brings the hysteria. I will not go into further like getting involved with the story. And as and when needed, I will give you some mystical meaning. Now Vishvamitra is accompanied by Rama and Lakshmana. Rama is jnana embodiment, wisdom embodiment. Lakshmana is dhyana embodiment, mind that has become highly purified. Rama and Lakshmana, they represent embodiment of God, the Absolute, but operating as avatars, as human embodiments to help Vishvamitra to remove negative forces. In a storyline, Chale jaat muni deen hi dekhai, suni Tarka krodha dhari adhai. Vishvamitra, as he proceeded along with Rama and Lakshmana, Vishvamitra pointed out, here is the demoness Tadaka. And Tadaka didn't wait. Tadaka was already rising with vigorous, ferocious face. Ekahi ban prana hari linha, deen jani tehi nij pada dinha. Rama, with one single arrow, stripped her of her life. And knowing that she was deen, possessed nothing, simple-hearted, she withdrew her soul into his own personality. To understand now, the storyline gives you confusion. Someone who is so terrifying, who has done so many negative deeds, how can that personality become realized while so many people doing lots of sadhana and they're out of realization? Becomes a riddle. The simple point to understand that whenever the story brings to you that Rama is killing a demon, that killing a demon, demons are anger, hate, greed, etc. And when they are confronting God, they become sublimated. So it is in that context how the malas are not realities. They are forces of darkness. Rama movement is light movement. Light comes and darkness runs away. The darkness doesn't go into embodiments, you see. It becomes liberated. Allegorical way of saying. So do not draw lesson from Tarka. The word Taraka is also very interesting. Comes from Tadan. Taran is injuring everyone by negative forces, dark forces attacking people, creating atank. Like a scorpion enters your brain and grabs it. That type of atank, tongue. I'm exaggerating, but I'm not really exaggerating. Human miseries are very terrible. And that type of radiation of ignorance, Tadaka is emanated from ignorance. Kubuddhi, wrong type of understanding. And this wrong type of understanding is corrected by Rama with a single arrow. Let me give you another type of meaning. Tarka, discussion, debate, mind that has a constant debating aspect. Is God there? Is He not there? There are people who have given all this proof that God is there, but then there are people who have opposed. And they have given their good logic. This process of debating is perfectly normal for an aspirant to allow his intellect to be settled. Therefore, see when Arjuna goes on asking Krishna whenever there is little confusion. This is known as Vad in Sanskrit literature. But it is of three types. Vad is that where your discussion is meant to bring the clarity about the truth. So the both parties who are discussing about a subject, they come to reach the truth about the subject, a healthy process of logic. But people are involved with not healthy logic. There are two types of perversions. One is called jalp, another is called the vitanda. Jalp, two great scholars trying to debate, bring out their scholarship. Each one is interested not in the subject, but in the audience, to impress upon the audience that his discussion and his logic is the best. The other's logic. So defeat the person no matter how good he is in his understanding. You are a believer in God and go into that type of association. And they have presented 50 questions and you can't answer them. So they all clap their hands. You are defeated. I'm joking, but that's called jalpam. The next type of discussion called vitanda. No one is interested in attaining victory, but only interested in creating a great agitation. Let me give you a simple parable to illustrate the point. A beautiful deer went to drink water. Just close by, a lion comes in and Suddenly, his eyes fall upon the deer, and immediately his mind works. He says to the deer, "How dare you let me drink water that has been touched by your saliva?" And the deer says to the lion, "Oh, Royal Majesty, water is coming from you to me. I'm taking you that water as prasad of yours." The lion says, "You stupid, your father has done this, that. So many things he comes forward, for which the deer has no answer. That's called Vitanda type of. And the world is filled with this type of logic goes on. There is not a country, not a place, not a family rid of it. And that moment you develop a real touch of spiritual sincerity, one arrow cuts it down. So Tarka was cut down. Tarka. I bring sometimes far-fetched to bring out a more. तब ऋषि निज नाथ ही जिय चिन्ही, विद्या निधि कहूँ विद्या दीन्ही, जाते लाग न क्षुधा पिपासा, अतुलित बल तनु तेज प्रकाशा. Sage Vishvamitra recognized Rama as divine self, embodiment of divine self, who possesses all the Vidya, all the knowledge. However, Vishvamitra, as long as he's playing the role of human being, Vishvamitra imparted the knowledge he had gained to Rama. And what type of Vidya he gave? Jate lag na chudha pipasa, atulit balatanu teja prakasa. In the storyline, he gave to Rama that mystic insight that enables a person to have a siddhi psychic power. And what does that power do? You will not suffer from hunger and thirst. Suppose there is a project of climbing a mountain and you don't carry all the food. If you have that power, you just go on and your energy remains intact. You breathe in the air and energy goes into your body. All this I'm distracting you. This is not the real meaning. But that's the way people go into the story and their mind gets fascinated by these ideas. Shudha pipasa. Shudha refers to hunger for worldly enjoyments. And pipasa refers to thirst for attaining worldly objects. Shudha pipasa relate to Vishaya ras, Vishaya bhog. Vishaya bhog is you eat, like that's the food. Vishaya ras is your pipasa, your thirst. And if you have that type of hunger and thirst gripping your mind, you cannot enjoy the profound rasa, profound divine juice that comes from scriptures. So you have to have the art of stopping this hunger and thirst. And that's what first lesson Vishvamitra gave to Rama. Ahara Shuddhavu Sattva Shuddhi. First, take care of your ahar, the intake that you have. Don't be thirsty or hungry for those types of experiences that keep your mind degraded. All this is a matter of gaining insight. You don't gain the success. Success comes by your effort, day by day. How slowly you are doesn't matter. But you must understand the idea, the ideal to reach. Otherwise, you will begin to justify your error. Justifying your error stops you from progress. If you understand your error and you are keenly interested in going on removing it and rejoice doing it, then it's a perfectly healthy movement of sadhana. No matter how long it takes, doesn't matter. The moment you start justifying it, then you come into the demoniac category. आयुध सर्व समर्पिक प्रभु निज आश्रमानि कंद मूल फल भोजन दीन भगति हित जानि. All that weapons that Rama and Lakshmana were carrying, they left those weapons and they entered into the ashram with simplicity. And Vishvamitra, who is great devotee of Rama, deep down in his heart, he is serving Rama as God. That again should not surprise you. The very advanced state of guru-disciple relation does not have any superiority or inferiority. Guru is teaching the disciple, thou art that. If the disciple were to get up, if I'm already that, stop teaching. So Vishvamitra gave food in storyline, vegetarian type of food that has roots, fruit, and something like sweet potatoes. Kandamul fat. This is a description from an advanced point of view. Food that nourishes your intellect, that is the root level of food. Mind that requires sweet potato type of thing, or potato. And action requires flour. Kandamul phal. Manasa vacha karmana. That which nourishes your mind, your speech, your action, or say mind, intellect, and action, whichever way, that's the real food. So on one side is a storyline that you should follow, that's wonderful, interesting. See Rama eating that, forgotten all about his royal dishes. 36 variety of dishes are presented in royalties. Now he's eating only little things. प्रात कहा मुनि सन रघुराई निर्भय यज्ञ करहु तुम्ह जाई होम करन लागे मुनि झारी आप रहे मख की रखवारी. Early in the morning, next day, Sri Rama said to Vishvamitra that please commence your yajna and we will watch over the yajna so that yajna is successful. Suni maricha nishachara kohi krohi lay sahaya dhava muni drohi. The moment this news came to the demoniac Marica, they had always the kind of a WikiLeaks type of thing. Whatever Rama said to Vishvamitra, the news immediately leaked out to the demoniac world. And he, along with other demons, prepared to obstruct the performance of yajna. Binu farban Rama tehi mara, shatajojan ga sagar para. Rama used an arrow that didn't have the sharp edge. Binu far. And Marica was thrown away thousands of miles away, beyond the ocean. Here is a stage of dealing with an impurity that is so intense that there are two stages of that impurity. In a conscious level of your personality, the Rama movement stops it to dominate your conscious life. In a conscious way, you don't know it. It was there, but Rama's grace shut it out. But now it is hiding in your unconscious, where Lanka is, where ignorance is, Ravana there. But being hit by Rama, it carries a little injury that will give him transformation. In what Marica will play later, will know how Rama destroys him. So there are impurities that are driven away as you do sadhana. And there are some minor impurities that are completely cut down. That's part of facts about sadhana movement. Pavaka sar subahu punimara, ajuna nishachara kataku sanghara. And Rama destroyed Subahu by fire arrow. Fire is jnana-based insight. Jnana is knowledge. Knowledge is fire. Knowledge, divine knowledge, is like the sun. Demoniac presence is like forces of darkness. So Agniban implies a shot of light, removing darkness. In a storyline, in order to believe the darkness has gone, the story shows that he burns up into ashes. And you see the ashes and you know that's no problem. While Rama destroyed Subahu, Subahu is kind of an allegorical name. Demons call him Subahu, good arms. This Subahu is not named by divine people. This is their own. That Subahu, certain aspects of raga, dvesha, attachment, hatred, that type of, not very profound, but certain expressions that create a lot of impurity in the mind. Rama destroyed Subahu by his Agniban, and Lakshmana destroyed the whole army. मारी असुर द्विज निर्भयकारी अस्तुति करहि देव मुनि झारी. And all the Brahmins who were ready to do yajna, they were very happy to see these demoniac forces destroyed. And from the subtle world, gods and divine sages offered adorations to Rama. In the storyline, all this goes on, but you must understand that whenever you are able to allow the divine in you to overcome that which is undivine, whenever you allow goodness in your heart to succeed, it receives jai, jai from the world. The breeze you breathe brings more oxygen. The world around you becomes a source of joy. Try it out. One day, take something to make you very angry. Next day, practice japa, bring satsanga around you, and see the difference, what anger did and what peace and love does. When you are angry, the world around you becomes poisoned. They are all cursing you. You don't realize it. It requires a different type of instrument. When divine begins to flourish in your heart, then divine forces are around you. This should not, must realize, the entire world is fashioned by God Himself. Fashioned again is an allegorical term. God alone is in all forms. So, a positive mind receives blessings in the positive way. A negative mind receives the blessings of demons, asuras, not gods. Taha puni kachuk divas raghuraya, rahe kin vipran paradaya. Lord Rama stayed in the ashram of Vishvamitra for a few days, and all the Brahmins and all those who were performing yajnas, they were very happy. Bhagati hetu bahu katha purana, kahe viprajadyapi prabhujana. And those Brahmins, they spoke about stories from the Puranas. They created satsanga, you see, and Rama enjoyed the satsanga, listening to the stories of Puranas and Vedas and scriptures. The moral of the story, no matter how much you know, Swadhyaya is a divine nourishment. Just like no matter how healthy you are, daily you have to eat and nourish yourself. So no matter how much you know, daily indulge in studying scriptures and communicating the scriptures with others. Continue to be a teacher, imparting teaching to students. with a profound understanding, God within you, imparting wisdom to God in others. And self-realization is the dakshina. तब मुनि सादर कहा बुझाई, चरित एक प्रभु देखिए जाई। धनुष यज्ञ सुनी रघुकुल नाथा, हर्षि चले मुनि बर के साथा. Here the writing is very, summarizes the story. That is, Vishvamitra has received an invitation to attend to the great Dhanush Yajna arranged by King Janaka in order that his daughter Janaki, Sita Devi, will find a suitable match. All that has a profound, deeper meaning. King Janaka is liberation embodiment. His daughter Sita represents Viveka Buddhi, that subtle intellect that leads one to liberation. Rama is the soul potential, with the potentiality of Brahman, who has to join with Sita, become wedded to Sita. And that has to occur in every individual. The soul within you has to become fascinated by Vivek Buddhi. How am I to develop Sanamati? That should become your inner song. But in order to do that, you have to join with Rama to break the big bow. Bow is a trap. In order to be related to join Sita, the karmic pull, rather this Maya's pull, to keep the soul bonded with the world of pravritti, soul has to overcome fascination for worldly enjoyment. That fascination, broad aspect, is known as pravritti, the movement that keeps the soul confined to the cycle of birth and death. Even though the person is doing many good karmas, and yet the karmas are simply inflating the ego. And why does it happen? Because this bow has not been broken. The pull, magnetic pull of bhoga, Vishaya Bhog, has to be overcome. Here again you have to understand, not overcome absolutely, but to a certain degree. And that's where Rama marries Sita. He marries Sita, the goal is not reached, but real mystical movement starts. Similarly, if the soul has become deeply involved with being blended with Viveka Buddhi, soul has become fascinated with the ideal of Sanamati. That fascination will not come until you are able to break your illusion about the world. And that's brought into the storyline. There is a big bow. And all are there given the great proclamation, anyone who breaks it will marry Sita. So let's, with that understanding, the deeper understanding, we follow through the story. तब मुनि सादर कहा बुझाई, चरित एक प्रभु देखिए जाई. Sage Vasishtha, Vishvamitra said to Rama, "O Rama, come with me. You will have very interesting experience." Just like people say, come, I will show you it. Get into a cinema show. We'll see the great Yajna, Dhanush Yajna, being performed by King Janaka. Dhanush is bow. Dhanush Yajna means that proclamation, whoever breaks the bow will marry Rama, Radha Sita. आश्रम एक दीख मग माही, खग मृग जीव जंतु तह नाही. Rama and Vishvamitra and Lakshmana, they started now towards Janakpuri, where that Dhanush Yajna is taking place. But as they proceed, there are certain steps. Movement to Viveka Buddhi requires certain initial steps to be taken. And what's the initial stage? Faith within you has to be awakened. But that's brought into storyline. Vishvamitra shows to Rama there is an ashram, but ashram is desolate. No animals, no deer, not even a roach. And they find a big rock. It's a fascinating look about it. And Vishvamitra tells Rama the story about that rock. The story about the rock is faith. In the storyline, Gautam, sage Gautam, and Ahalya, they are husband and wife. And they are deeply devoted to each other. They perform lots of yajnas, but Indra doesn't want Gautam Muni and Ahalya to attain heaven. Indra is afraid they will not only come to heaven, but they will become Indra. So, how to thwart their spiritual movement? So he decided to distract the mind of Ahalya from her husband. And he himself came in the form of Gautam Muni. And while they were having amorous sport, Gautam Muni came and sees his own similar face. And Ahalya also sees two faces alike. Realizes that she was deceived. And with great submissiveness, she approaches her husband, but her husband has become so agitated that he curses her. May you stay as a rock. May you become a rock. Then somehow compassion enters his heart until Rama touches the rock with his foot. In the storyline, nothing is impossible. All this. The simple point is faith within you intrinsically has only one match: God. Enlightenment. Enlightenment, sage who is enlightened is Gautama. Or put it in another way, a healthy faith should let the soul move towards liberation. But then what happens? In order that the soul should attain liberation, soul should not be captivated by bhoga, only enjoyment. So the faith that's supposed to enhance your understanding, be devoted to the divine movement, becomes distracted by Indra's trick. When that happens, there are two recourses. Soul will then go through lots of enjoyments and will stay in the world of cycle of birth and death. But then, if there is a divine setup, soul will be able to overcome this impediment of faith being distracted. What happens, what I'm leading to understand, Gautam Muni curses. The curse itself is not negative. A faith that continues to enjoy worldly enjoyments is not uncursed. But it is going to lead you to worse miseries. But a faith that has come to a kind of position, situation, that it turns to the world and it gets frozen. That's a stage that's positive. It's waiting to be touched by Rama, not touched by the worldly enjoyment. Figure that out. Faiths within, once touched by devotion, it gains a dynamic power, faith that moves mountains. So Rishi Shrap Dinha, Shrap term, Shra plus Ap. Ap is water. Shra, water that is charged with Lakshmi. Sometimes medicines are given to people, they're like curse. But when you become well, then you thank the doctor. Adverse situations, you wanted to get into something Rajasic project that would have kept you 50 years in illusion. But something happens and it sounds like a big curse. And you go on missing that big project you had until there comes a time you realize how wonderful, I didn't have that process. I didn't succeed. So, role of curse. Otherwise, you take it literally. It's very discouraging how these sages, for every, even Brahma himself ready to curse. So when Vishvamitra told this story and asked Rama to bring salvation to Ahalya. Rama allowed his foot to touch that rock. And now Tulsi gives in a very thrilling poetic language. पर सत पद पावन शोक न सावन प्रगट भई तप पुंज सही देखत रघुनायक जन सुखदायक सन्मुख होई कर जोरी रही. Having been touched by the feet of Rama, who is supremely pure, who is the destroyer of all sorrows, Ahalya arose in her normal form as an embodiment of austerity. And before her is Rama, having Rama's darshan. With folded hands, she stood in ecstasy. Her body experienced thrill. Her voice could not proceed from her tongue. These are called upalakshanas. 2 or 3 symptoms of devotional ecstasy are described. When sattvic bhavana develops in one's heart, there are 8 symptoms that develop. Swarabhang, if your heart is so glad, joyous, thrilling, you may know all the language, but now even the best of word you have in your mind is not equal to what you are experiencing. So there is Swarabhang. Swarabhanga means you say few words, you can't complete the sentence. Next is called Vismaya. Vismaya is a state of surprise. Everyone acts in a state of surprise in different ways. Cat in surprise. Human being in surprise. Different people have their different expressions. But it's a majestic prize, surprise. I'm bringing surprise to you. Romanch, joyous feeling enters the body, all the hairs stand upon their end. See what type of energy goes all over your body. There's no pill in medical science. Ashru, tears begin to flow, but this is a different type of tear. It's joyous tear. It's very healthy for the eyes. Swathe, also begin to perspire, but different type of perspiration, not out of abnormality. Kampan, a thrill comes in your body and there is certain shaking movement. Murcha, it's ecstasy. Suddenly you become, you've gone somewhere, you don't know where. kulak, a sense of thrill sweeping over your body. All this is waiting for you. ही रजु मन कीन्हा प्रभु कहूँ चिन्हा रघुपति कृपा भगति पाई अति निर्मल बानी अस्तुति ठानी ज्ञान गम्य जय रघुराई. Now, having brought her mind into more manageable state and knowing that it is the grace of Rama that has brought devotion in her heart, she started offering her prayer to Rama with a voice that is pure. मैं नारी अपावन प्रभु जग पावन रावण रिपुजन सम सुखदाई. Now, literal translation will shock you. I am unholy woman. As a woman, I am unholy. That's not real meaning. Nari term, Sanskrit term is Stri. Consciousness that is gripped by the illusion of triad, seer, seen, and sight. That's called Stri, which people translate it as women. That has nothing to do with it. The scriptures have nothing to do with women, men, that type of yatra naryastu pujyante, wherever women are worshipped, God, ramante tatra devata, God abides there. But somehow society has developed that idea of inferiority. And that's perversion of religion, never real religion. So, what she is saying, that soul that has not attained enlightenment is gripped by three illusions. That type of soul is three. And that is three is apavan. These threefold illusions will not allow you to be free of birth and death. And if you go through birth and death, you go on throwing lots of skeletons after skeletons. That's you spoil the space. So it's a prayer for every soul. As a jiva, I'm gripped by three illusions. I am Stri. And you are Pavan. You are purifier. You are the Purusha. The only one Purusha, Brahman. All souls are considered Stri. You are the purifier of the world, giver of immense joy to devotees, and you are the enemy of Ravana, the enemy of ignorance. Still, that story has to come, but she already mentions it. I have taken refuge in you. Pahi pahi saranahi jai. The word is trahi mam, trahi mam. Trahi, three types of surrender. I'm surrendering the subject, surrendering the object, surrendering the interaction. I'm surrendering. When you wake up from your dream, what happens? You have surrendered your entire dream. The dream has three aspects, erroneous aspects: subject, the world of dream, object, experiences in your dream, all these three are gripped. Therefore, the Sanskrit word trahi, all the three that is gripping me, take me out of that. I have taken refuge in you. Trahima, trahima. So with this I'm going to Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti